Hey, good morning. How's it going? Today I just want to talk about sleep molestation, and I think that at this point we have crustaceans, and we have possible moles somewhere, and probably hairs growing on them. And I just wanted to say that I think that all sleep is basically molestation. I think it's getting molested. I think it's molesting people. And I think that it has to do with, only that. I think that it has to do with making yourself exposed and vulnerable and base or, armored and attacking, when you're sleeping. And I think that, probably in order to beat sleep, um, you'd have to be able to understand that. You have to understand how that works. I think that probably that's all it's ever been used for. There's a lot of things that lead up to going to sleep, and not being bothered is one. But see, you would die. If like let's say, you had I don't know, you stayed up for a few days and you couldn't sleep. And someone keeps bothering you, eventually you get tired enough to go to sleep, or you would die. And so somehow there's a death threat in there, you know. And I know it's not my body that is threatening me, but I believe that it's other things that would need my sleep, really, really advancedly. I guess you could say primitive. We also have Christianity, which is just about molestation. You can really notice it when you check out Muslims because Allah, you know, uh, it definitely has to do with it. And, piece of bread on your tongue. I talked about this in another video. It's how people understand what is going to happen when they pry you. When people talk to you, you should envision or kind of learn how that works when there's something on your tongue. Liar, cock. Because it really does show you, what your protection really is. If everyone had just a piece of paper on their tongue and could talk, maybe they'd see how that second layer behind them really is, and it seems to be you sleeping. It's just like sleeping in tongues. How they have the little piece of bread they put on your tongue in a church is that. But it's not really being aware of it. You're eating it. That's not right. How the hell would you eat something on your tongue? I can't haku. That's where our language is at. Where our language isn't speaking this way. And in order to beat sleep, you have to learn that, well, there was a law, and everyone, I think that'd be the only thing laws would be, is things that could actually be a trial, something to learn instead of something that doesn't help anyone but buildings and letters and words. But it would be basically that you're not allowed to have sex with anyone in your entire life awake, and vice versa. Or we could see how maybe we would both have to be asleep to have the sex, since that'd probably be the only form of sleepwalking. It's possible. You can train yourself to do it. Sure, two partners could go to sleep and then do it. Possibly, since it seems to all be functioning. It just has these really long movements and big, that have to do with sex. Because if someone is like on you for that long, You know, you can feel it, when someone turns over and moves, you know, and it's universal. Everyone is like that, I mean, there's going to be someone out there who can easily move and turn, and there's somewhere, where there is, that's how that person breathes. Every single person is like that. That's why we sleep, and if you want to beat sleep, which I want to do, I want to defeat it. I think that it's, a weak thing. I think that's the only way you can do it. And, after you learn, where all that energy goes, which it has to be, basically based on this and letting go. Every single person's imprint is in our bodies, and, we could easily squish like this, and also, our body is, based on that part where our body fills up with more blood and then lets go. It's basically that small physic of sleeping where you go to sleep and then that is just like squeeze, and then when you let go, it releases that energy that you just put into it. And that's when it feels really big. You feel like you have big limbs. And yeah, I think the biggest challenge would be just to understand that, being eaten in your sleep, doesn't really not sound like sex. If you have gay sex, it feels like being eaten as a mosquito, or a bug, or an animal. Like it feels like being eaten and killed, as an animal. And but I mean, you make it through it, you live through it, but I'm just saying that's what it feels like. And I think that if that, rule was applied, you will understand that, when things are killed in the animal kingdom, that it basically is like that, like sex. I like to beat it. I think it's boring. I think it's stupid to get with a person. I think death is stupid. I think it has to do with molestation too, because there's other people to look at. It's like browsing. I think that's a lame, pathetic, weak example. It's lame. And, I think I should just make it a pact that, if I ever do have someone that'll have my children, I'll have to be asleep the entire time, and, even during fornication, before that, I'd have to be done in my sleep. I just don't see any other point for it. In fact, probably have nothing in common except for the fact that she just wants me in my sleep. Is all I would want. That way there's no talking, because for one, we're still talking about chopping a person into 1/4. We have, man and woman half and half, and if you chop that in half, which would be like adding another person into it, or just looking at yourself as half of that half, that leaves you with a fourth. And we also have, square cornered rooms, and that's something to analyze. If you can only see a portion of something, then, you can't see the rest. When you go to sleep, you're not seeing something, and that's the only thing that there is not to see, because there's sleep molestation. So how are you gonna, not see the rest of what people are thinking when you have courtesy? All courtesy's for is from sleep molestation. If it has to do with anything that's violent, or censorship, which is even more molestation. It's just like Jesus. You don't talk about sex. It's just piles of even more spoon with rice. you know, hair on my face, you know, and that's all it is. So, yeah, that's what needs to be done. Sleep, be defeated by understanding that being awake is trying to go to sleep and get molested. And there's really no way to avoid it because something has to become first. Something has to be said, has to be worthwhile, you know. I remember, when I was a kid, playing truth or dare with my cousins, staying up for 2 or 3 hours, 2 or 3 days. I wasn't even tired. And that shit was necessary for me to grow up and learn, but I didn't really think that that's not what was going on and happening to me, my whole life. And it doesn't make me different than anyone else who have a sleep pattern. Sleep. What's the difference? Nothing. That's why European people say sleep. And they do sleep in your pajamas. So, yeah, I think it would be defeated somehow that way. And, probably culture would be a lot different. If it wasn't based on hiding things in front of you. Another form of molestation in sleep is trying to kill family members. Family at all is molestation only. That's how it is in every religion, in every part of the world. And, people being identities, that fit groups of how we are and how we look and, have common ground. I thought, would actually be, a way to defeat family and get rid of the fact that people aren't just there and that life is not based on looking at, squadrons of motherships with little ships that come out and that's where that one comes from, there's where that one comes from. And, yeah, when you want some old person to die, for example, that's a form of molestation. And that's something you have to understand too, is that if you want to kill someone or you want them to be wrong, when you're right and don't want that to happen, either one of those things to anyone, don't want anyone to die and don't want to molest them, I don't know how else to explain it because, see, if you get killed as an animal, that's probably why. I also believe that, to finish off this with some more boring information, which is just a mustache that probably looks like carpet to you, probably dry. I think that I just hate that little it's like a little 2-second video on, I think it was like a Halo or some kind of, I don't know, just some kind of video game, and this guy's head just pops up and he's got this little hat on. It's like a 404 arrow on YouTube. And what he does is his head goes up like that and he's like, ooh. And he's like, couldn't see something, sir, and then he walks off or something. He's got like a gun. It's like, I don't remember what it was called or anything. But anyway, I hope you like that. Hope that helps you. I think that being ugly, looking bad, I just don't know why the hell. It obviously doesn't look bad when you look ugly. It looks good. Obviously to the molesters it does. They want to look uglier and then talk to you. That's when there's social interaction. And it still has to do with sleep. And I like to get rid of it because, I feel like I'm always getting attacked. I always feel like I look bad, compared to some other person. You know, I mean, someone who looks really bad. You know, it's like, fuck are you doing? Why? You know, so hope you like that. You know, hope you learn something. I hope you try some of that. Try to understand what it's like to go to sleep. What else would make you go to sleep besides people awake watching you? I don't know. Nothing. You know, I bet it's a formula. I bet it is a formula. I bet it is math. I bet it is true. There is no other reason to go to sleep. There's no way. It has nothing to do with the sun going around the earth.